If you're in your 20s, you've probably already felt this pressure. Like you're supposed to be good at everything, nail your career, communicate like a TED talker, cook like a pro, be emotionally intelligent, physically strong, mentally unshakable, tech savvy, financially literate, and somehow also be chill about it? Yeah, no pressure, right? So I sat down and made a tier list. Not just for fun, but because this is how I personally started to make sense of the chaos. I ranked every skill I've either tried to master in my 20s or I've thought about, and then I'll score it based on how much impact it actually had. And not just the ones that look flashy on social media, but the ones that actually made my life better, clearer, and more aligned. We got everything from communication to carpentry, emotional skills, money stuff, digital tools, social hacks, and everything in between. Some of these will absolutely change your life. Others, not so much. So let's sort through the noise and get clear on what's actually worth your time. Let's start with the bottom of the barrel, the F tier skills. I have only one here, which is skill hoarding, because learning everything is just a clearer way to avoid doing the hard thing. YouTube tutorials can trick you into thinking you're making progress, but watching isn't the same as doing something. So what I recommend instead of skill hoarding is choosing a few key skills and going deep and not wide. Dabbling makes you feel smart, but mastering less things is what builds momentum and makes you stand out. Don't be the person with 17 browser tabs open and no real results. And let's be honest, most of us don't want to just get better. We want to feel like we're getting better without facing failure. And skill hoarding is how we trick ourselves into feeling productive while avoiding discomfort. But discomfort is the price of evolution. There's no way around that. When I was younger, I took pride in the fact that I had 10 projects going at once. I wanted to learn how to play faster lead guitar, while also starting a Pokemon trivia channel, while attending uni, and while also volunteering as an international mentor, while sitting on the party committee at my dorm. At the same time, I was training up for my black belt in karate and squeezing in strength training twice a week. Oh, and I also wanted to go to every party. Every single one. It felt good to be that guy, the guy doing everything. But looking back, I was spread so thin that I absorbed almost nothing. Just stress and surface level dabbling. I didn't master lead guitar, I didn't grow the channel, I half showed up to everything and didn't go deep on anything. I was busy, but I wasn't progressing. I was just spinning plates until they all wobbled. These days, I focus on 3 things. No more, that's it. Because I'd much rather go deep than dabble. Because energy is limited. And because doing one thing fully beats chasing 10 halfway. So yeah, don't hoard skills. Don't chase everything. And now we get to the D tier skills. The first one here being first aid. This one is extremely situational. It's very rarely needed, but incredibly valuable when it is. Like fire insurance, you hope you never use it, but when you do, it's a literal lifesaver. Everyone should know the basics, how to stop bleeding, what to do during a panic attack, CPR, or what to do if someone faints in front of you. You don't need to become a paramedic, but knowing the difference between wait it out and call an ambulance can save lives. And weirdly, having even the basic first aid training makes you much more calm in chaotic situations. You stop freezing, you stop panicking, you become useful instead of helpless. It won't help you every day, but the one day it does, it'll matter more than anything else on this list. Then the next one is sewing. This one always sounds outdated until you actually pop a button or rip your jeans. Knowing how to fix your own clothes can save you money, and it builds this tiny but powerful sense of independence. It's not essential, but there's some pride in it, and for some, sewing becomes a hobby, even a side hustle. I'll be honest, I got a friend who knows how to sew. It's super cool, he makes his own clothes sometimes, and I genuinely admire the craft. But I also know deep down that this isn't a skill I need to prioritize, not right now. Maybe in another chapter of my life, sure. But at this point, I'd rather just pay someone $10 to fix a seam than learn how to do it myself. If we're talking purely importance and not aesthetics or fun, this one is very optional. The next one is business knowledge. If you're not in a startup or leading something, deep business theory won't help you much yet. I used to feel a little guilty for not reading books like 0 to 1 or The Lean Startup, like I was missing out on some secret code of success. But honestly, most of those books are meant for people already building something. So if you're just starting your career in business, I'd much rather learn basic personal finance first, because that business knowledge is a great bonus once you're ready to scale, but not at the point where you're just trying to survive. And the truth is, you don't need a ton of business knowledge to start a business. You need some courage, you need execution. You need to get over the voice in your head saying, who am I to do this? Because I'm building an online business right now, and I can tell you firsthand. The hardest part isn't strategy, it's psychological, it's emotional, it's fear, imposter syndrome, perfectionism, and procrastination all doing the cha-cha in your brain. So sure, read the books, but also just start immediately, ship something, launch something messy, learn as you go. Now we have the C tier, and the first one I have in the C tier is driving. Driving is one of those skills that either unlocks total freedom or sits there like a dusty TM in your move pool, depending on where you live. If you're in a big city, with great public transport, Uber, bikes and walkability, then honestly, you might go years without needing it. But if you're in a rural area, or you want flexibility for travel or road trips, it's a baseline skill that gives you autonomy. I got my first car at 25. Up until then, I never really needed one. I used to bike everywhere, university was close by to my dorm, so it wasn't really necessary at all. But at the point where I got my first full-time job, public transport absolutely sucked when it came to getting to my workplace. I really didn't want to deal with a 1.5 hour commute, both to get there and get home, and probably long delays, missed connections, and just an overall feeling of feeling stuck in someone else's schedule. So when I got that car, it didn't just get me to work, it gave me back control, it bought me back time. So for me, driving felt like a necessity and not just a luxury at that point. So yeah, this one really depends heavily on your environment and not necessarily your ambition. The next one is self-defense. There's this idea that was circling online some time ago that learning how to fight is an absolutely essential skill for a man, and that taking a couple of classes makes you feel invincible, but it really doesn't. But it does give you a sense of agency, knowing how to de-escalate a situation and knowing how to position yourself in a crowd, and also helps you with walking a bit more confidently. These are the real everyday payoffs that you might feel when you start taking self-defense classes or fighting classes. And I say that as someone who did karate for 10 years growing up. From a young age, it gave me structure, discipline, and a certain physical confidence that's hard to describe unless you felt it. I don't walk around expecting to roundhouse kick anyone, but I carry myself differently because of that training. For me, it's been less about fighting and more about posture, presence, and awareness. Honestly, most of self-defense is avoiding the situation in the first place. So for most people, this is a great supplemental skill, but not a core one. Then the last C-tier skill, I want to call this a C+ tier skill actually. It's letting go of what you can't control. This one is technically less of a skill in the traditional sense and more of a lifelong practice, but it's powerful, especially in your 20s when everything feels urgent, overwhelming, and weirdly personal. Learning how to zoom out and say, this isn't mine to deal with, that's really liberating. I used to obsess over everything, what people thought of me, how perfectly a project turned out, whether someone texted back in 5 minutes or 5 hours. That was total emotional exhaustion. But the more I learned to release control, to focus on effort over outcome, the more peace I had. And ironically, the better my outcomes got. This isn't a high levered skill like communication or finances, which we'll get to later, but emotionally, it's a quiet superpower, one that helps you stop spiraling and start moving. And now we're getting to some of the good stuff, the B tier. The first one I have in the B tier is writing. The reason being is clear writing sharpens clear thinking. It forces your brain to slow down and process things in a way that's structured, logical, and memorable. When you write well, you think well. And when you think well, you communicate better, make stronger decisions, and avoid a ton of drama, personally and professionally. And I'm not just talking novels or essays here. I mean the everyday stuff. Emails, resumes, dating profiles, content scripts, cold outreach DMs. You use writing here. And in a noisy world, being able to stand out with writing can really set you apart from the rest of the game. Even journaling has been a game changer for me. It lets me reflect, reframe, and zoom out. When I write things down, I see patterns I never thought would have caught my head. So even if you never publish a video in your life, try writing just for you in a journal. It's mental self-defense. The next skill I have is the skill of negotiation. And here's the truth. Most people don't get what they're actually worth because they never ask. They assume that if they work hard, someone will notice and reward them. Nope. The world rewards clarity and people taking steps forward, not pulling back and being quiet. And just to be clear, negotiation doesn't mean being an evil manipulator. It just means understanding value and advocating for it. It's knowing how to anchor a conversation, how to stay calm in awkward tension, and how to ask for what you need without flinching. And it's not just for jobs or salaries, it's for boundaries, responsibilities, even relationships. I'll be honest, this is still one of my weak stats. I struggle with it. I'm trying to get better at it. The ability to say, actually, I'd like this more, still feels a bit uncomfortable to me. But I know it really matters, and what I'm learning is that it's less about being a smooth talker, and more about preparation, confidence, and mindset. It's a work in progress for me, but it's one I know I personally need, and I would recommend that you look into that, becoming better at negotiating too. The next one is DIY skills. I used to think DIY stuff was for dads and tool belts, and to be honest, this is still one of my weakest areas. I wish I'd done more with my dad when I lived at home, learned how to fix things and use tools properly, and just understanding how stuff works in general. Because now, as an adult, every time something breaks and I want to repair something, I feel that gap in my skill set. And it's not that I want to become a full-blown handyman, but just knowing how to patch up small issues around the apartment can save you time, money, and a lot of frustration. I don't think DIY is the first skill you should learn, but if you pick it up early, it might just become second nature. It's one of those silent leverage skills that builds a sense of competence behind the scenes. I'm working on it now, very slowly, but I still admire the hell out of people who can just fix stuff like it's nothing. Then we have the next one on the list, which is public speaking. This one is sneaky. You might think, I'll never need it, I'm just gonna be a software engineer sitting behind a screen. And then boom, there's a best man speech, a work presentation, or pitching your own idea. And suddenly your heart's racing and your brain short circuits. Public speaking is less about performance and more about presence. It's the ability to stay grounded, while everyone's eyes are on you. And once you build that skill, you become way more influential, not just on stages, but in meetings, convos, and conflict resolution. Earlier this year, I gave a Toastmaster-style speech at a friend's wedding. I was nervous, but I've been practicing, doing something called ultra speaking, which is basically online public speaking training, and it paid off. People came up to me afterward and said I nailed it, and that felt really good, really incredible. I wouldn't say I'm a master at public speaking, but I'm way more confident now than I used to be. And that confidence spills into a lot of other things in life. Public speaking isn't just for stages, it does sharpen how you show up everywhere. And the next one on the list is something that's a bit related to public speaking, and that is charisma. But I think charisma is the most misunderstood trait on this list, because many people think it's all about being loud or funny. Let me tell you, it's not. It's about presence, it's about listening, and it's about eye contact. Tuning into the vibe of the room and adjusting, not just performing like a clown. Charisma is basically social IQ in action, and you can learn it. You can study some of the most magnetic people, and you might actually find that some of those people, they are quiet, introverted, and thoughtful, and they are still charismatic. But when they speak, you really feel it. The final one I have on this list is languages. Learning another language will humble you in the best way. It forces your brain to stretch, and you start noticing how language shapes culture, personality, and even thought patterns. Is it essential? No. But is it enriching? Hell yes. And if you travel, date across cultures, or work in global teams, it opens doors that English-only folks can't see. Just don't expect fast results. Learning a language is a slow and beautiful grind. And now we're getting into some of the really good stuff. The A tier. The first one I have on this list is emotional mastery. And this is something I've spent a lot of time on. This isn't some soft, fluffy buzzword. Emotional mastery is your ability to recognize your emotions, name them, sit with them, and choose your response instead of reacting. It's what helps you avoid spiraling after a bad day, what keeps you from snapping at someone who didn't deserve it, and what gives you clarity in chaos. When I started paying attention to this, everything changed. I stopped getting so agitated over the tiniest things. I got better at having difficult conversation. I was better at reading a room. I was better at staying calm under pressure. I was especially better at recognizing when my stress was hijacking my brain. One of the most impactful things I did was take an actual course on emotional mastery from the YouTube channel Charisma on Command. I've taken it multiple times at this point, and I still return to it when I feel like I'm slipping. That course has helped me develop a much better understanding of how to let go instead of gripping everything tighter, and also how to feel emotions without letting them run the show. This is the kind of skill that compounds. It improves your relationships, career, leadership, communication, everything. And no, it's not something you read in a book once and master. It's something you build through failure, rejection, and honesty with yourself again and again. The next one is health and fitness. I don't mean just go to the gym. I mean understanding why movement, nutrition, and rest matter, and then doing something about it. Because once you understand that, you know what your body needs to not just survive, but actually thrive. And at some point, health will stop being a chore, and it becomes a form of self-respect. In my early 20s, I went to a lot of parties and drank a lot of alcohol. And at some point, I really started caring about getting strong. And that's when I slowly dipped my toes into becoming a healthier person. And in my mid-20s, it shifted more to aesthetics. I just wanted to look good, and honestly, that worked for a while in order to change some of my habits. It's different. It's about mood, energy, and resilience. It's my anchor. When everything else feels chaotic, movement is what grounds me. That pain I feel in the gym when I push myself, that is progress. And it translates to so many other areas of life, like discipline, sleep, emotional regulations, and mental clarity. Also, a big warning here, if you neglect your body in your 20s, it really starts to catch up with you, fast. And even by 25, I started noticing the divide in the people I know who's been taking care of their body and the people who haven't. You can tell. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. And if you can build a consistent health routine now, that will compound in the future. And what you're really doing is you're investing in your future bandwidth, so do not take this for granted, even if you're young. Then we have probably the hardest skill to master in this day and age, which is focusing. And I'm not talking about time management techniques and productivity hacks, just focus. The ability to pick one thing, eliminate distractions, and go deep. The world today is full of noise. Notifications, endless tabs, everyone pulling your attention in 100 different directions. So being able to tune all of that out and do deep work, that is a superpower. And yeah, like everyone else, I still struggle with this. With YouTube shorts, with Instagram scrolls, that's enough to hijack my brain on some days. The doom loops are real, but when I do manage to log in, it's insane how fast I make progress. I've read Carl Newport's book Deep Work multiple times. It's one of the most influential books I've ever picked up. It showed me that deep, focused attention isn't just helpful, it's a necessity. It's where the real breakthroughs come from, and every time I fall off the wagon, that book reminds me why I need to get back on. Focus is the gateway to mastery, and it's getting rarer by the day. If you can train it, you'll outpace a lot of the people around you who are still dabbling. The next one is the ability to accept criticism. This is a very grown-up skill. Being able to hear feedback, even when it stings, and actually use it, and not just reflect it directly back at the sender, that's emotional black belt territory. Most people get defensive, and I still do sometimes, but I'm learning to filter criticism through curiosity instead of my ego. As in, what part of this might be true, and what can I learn from this? That reframe has really helped me grow faster than a lot of the other things here on this list. It's not easy, but the moment you stop fearing feedback, you accelerate your growth, you stop protecting an identity and start building one. Finally, in the A tier, we have problem solving. And here I don't mean being good at riddles. I mean the mindset of, okay, something's broken, how do I fix it? The ability to calmly assess a challenge, figure out what matters, and create a solution. Problem solvers get promoted, they get trusted, they get asked back. This doesn't come from genius IQ, it comes from being willing to try, to fail, and to iterate. To stay curious, to take ownership, instead of waiting to be rescued. And that goes for relationships and business and in your own habits. This mindset is really gold. Now we're getting to the best part of this video, which is the cream of the crop, the S tier skills. The first one being communication. Communication unlocks almost everything else. Better jobs, better relationships, better leadership, better conflict resolution. It's the bridge between your inner world and the outer world. And I don't just mean being charismatic, I mean being able to speak clearly, being able to say what you mean, ask for what you need, and listen to what others are actually saying. The people who rise quickly, who lead teams, who build communities and make an impact, they know how to communicate. And it's a skill. It's something you can learn. It's not a talent. It's built through repetition, reflection, and feedback. And the best part of this is it will improve with age if you train it. And the next one is financial literacy. Money is freedom. Not because it buys everything, but because it buys choices. And your 20s are the time to start stacking tiny financial wins that compound over decades. Start by learning how money actually works, how to budget, how to invest, how to save, and how to spend intentionally. Build emergency funds. Avoid the lifestyle creep when you actually start making money. All of this is not sexy at all, but it is the reason that some people feel calm in chaos, while others feel trapped, even though they might be earning more because they're keeping less money. I didn't start with a lot of financial education. I had to piece it together from books, podcasts, YouTube, and trial and error. My social circle has also been a huge influence. We learn from each other, and I still make mistakes here. But once you stop fearing money and start understanding it, you gain a lot of leverage. And if you're making a lot of money, but you're pissing it all out, you're not that much better off than someone earning less but saving more. Just think about the number of people who win the lottery and then lose it all within a few years. They didn't change their habits, they just upgraded their spending. That's lifestyle inflation. It isn't just about earning more, it's about keeping more and investing more. And the second to last skill I want to talk about here is learning how to learn. If there's one thing you need to master in your 20s, it's this. Because every other skill here on this list rests on it. Once you figure out how to learn, how to break down complex ideas, how to practice deliberately, how to track your progress, how to stay consistent, you can pick up anything faster. This is the skill behind the skill. It's what turns I'm bad at X into I'm not good yet. I didn't know this at first. I thought some people were naturally talented, but now I see it's about systems, reflection, pattern recognition, and self-awareness. Whether you're learning languages, instruments, business relationships, or just trying to improve your memory, learning how to learn is your multiplier. And the best part, you can practice it on anything. Now the final skill I have on this list is the skill of consistency. And this here is your execution muscle. It's the thing that separates wishful thinking from actual progress. Talent is cool, but consistency wins. And consistency doesn't happen without self-discipline. In a world that constantly pulls you toward distraction, training that internal consistency muscle is a game changer. One of the best real-world examples I have, this channel. Since I started it, I've uploaded every single week without fail. No matter if it was an easy week or hard week for me, no matter what happened in my life at the time, there's a video going up on Monday at 4 p.m. That's consistency. And that's self-discipline in action. Discipline is a core part of consistency. and luckily for me, it has always been a core part of my identity. And how that reflects into the world is that while I'm definitely not perfect at anything I do, I'm showing up from what matters, and that's why I make significant progress. And on this channel, that decision gets reinforced every single week. Discipline isn't about being harsh to yourself. It is a form of self-respect, and it builds your confidence brick by brick. So every time you decide to lay the next brick through the power of consistency, you're proving to yourself that you can be trusted. And in your 20s, that's the kind of trust that changes everything. Now, to wrap things off here, let me just emphasize, you don't need to master everything. And if you're not sure why I said that, go back to the F tier and look at the skill placed in the F tier. So instead of trying to master everything, you do need to choose your path, or just a few of the paths here. Most people, they get stuck because they're trying to win at all the games. That's not the goal here. Figure out which game you want to play, and figure out which skills matter most in your life, and then pour your time and energy into those. And like we just talked about in the S tier, do not obsess over being perfect. Just try to be consistent and build a tight, lethal little moveset, one that fits your path, your personality, and your purpose. Now that we're at the end, what's the next skill you're working on? Drop it in the comments. I'll meet you down there, and let's grow together intentionally.